In 1934, a wealthy local by the name of Mansfield Wilkinson built a purpose-built racetrack near Louth in Lincolnshire purely for his two sons to race around on their motorbikes. Today, nearly 80 years on, Cadwell Park still ranks as one of the UK's top motorsport venues for four wheels, two wheels, and as is the case of this weekend, three wheels, because we're here for round 5 of the Eastern Airways British F1 Sidecar Championship. The previous round, round 4, took place at the new 2.97 mile Snetterton circuit, where the racing was fast, very fast. It was always going to be quick here, and Snetterton did not disappoint. The conditions were good, the tarmac was dry, and with a front row of Birchells and Reeves, well, you could expect fireworks. Birchells certainly delivered from the outset, but Reeves found himself bogged down in the traffic. Playing catch-up, he was forced into one or two uncharacteristic errors, so much so that at one point he actually left the tarmac and went grass tracking. That was to cost him dear, because half the field and his mate went by, pushing Reeves right down into 6th place. There was obviously a lot of work to do, but this man, number 72, Scott Lorry and James Neve, another flying start for them. They shot past Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson as they hit a mechanical problem. Reeves climbing all over the back of Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence. They kept him at bay, though, and allowed the young crew of Ben Holland to make hay and keep their bike ahead. But finally, Reeves and Clues squeezed past. They then had to close down Scott Lorry and James Neve, which they did. With a clear track ahead of them, bar the Birchall brothers, who were so far ahead, almost a quarter of a lap. Victory was easy for them. Reeves and Clues then would have to do it in race 2 if they were going to. Again, another slow start as Scott Lorry and James Neve shot through to take the lead. This time, it was the Birchall brothers who bogged down, but Reeves very quickly got in the hunt, made his presence felt. The Birchalls, meanwhile, struggling to get past the ever-consistent Roger Lovelock. Reeves nudged ahead. From that point on, there was no looking back for the former world, the former British champion, having a good season in 2011, but the Birchall brothers were slowing, and that was made apparent as the hand went in the air. They were out of the running. No points for the Birchalls in race 2 here at Snetterton. Already playing catch-up in the championship, the last thing they needed was a DNF. But the story of the race, young Barry James and Jamie Wynn charging through from a tail-end start, closed down the race leader to within a few lengths. And as they approached the last lap, it was abundantly clear that one more tour of Snetterton could have been a different story. Meanwhile, Roger Lovelock and Scott Lorry were locked in a titanic struggle. But on the approach to the flag, you can see the distance between the James outfit in 2nd place and the race leader. One more lap, it might have been a different story, but Reeves and Clues took the win. And coming away from Snetterton at the halfway stage, they have a massive lead. Not invincible by a long way, but Lorry and Neve well established in 2nd place, Lovelock and Lawrence 3rd. Bell and Hawes look all the way down to 8th before we get to the Birchalls on 90 points. Young Steve Kershaw with 48 there. Everybody down the order picking up points. Greg Lambert, Carl Schofield on 20 in 18th. And nobody's on a duck, actually. Andy and Phil Sloan there, 24th. They've got a point as well, so it's not all bad. Well, at first glance, it might look as though Tim Reeves is romping away with the championship, but we're still only at the halfway stage. We're now at Cadwell Park, where the circuit is testing, to say the least. With all its ups and downs and bends and swoops, it's going to be very challenging. 3 races on the programme on this demanding terrain. Let's jump on board and take a look. Well, Cadwell Park's often been described as a circuit of 2 parts, and you'll see exactly what I mean. First of all, into this left-hander of Coppice, away up the hill here to Charlie's at the top, into the open parkland. Round here, very, very fast. 3rd, 4th, hooking 5th, dropping away down the hill. The quickest part of the circuit, we are on it now. Top gear, back 2 for the right-hander of Park. into Park This Right-Hander, which basically doubles up into Chris Curve, named after Mansfield Wilkinson's son, actually, Chris Curve. It's almost one bend. It just keeps on going and going and going before it drops away down the hill, right-handed towards the top of the dive, reminiscent of the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. That's the gooseneck. Ahead of us, Mansfield. We're at Mansfield now. Get it stopped. Get it turned. Squirt towards the chicane. A recent addition in recent years, in actual fact, the chicane. Normally it was flat out towards the bottom of the mountain, but we're at that point now, and you'll see why they needed to slow down. It's a left and it's a right. Watch the front. Go for the sky. Over they go. Into the, what I call the woodland part of the circuit. Hall bends, a left, a right, a left, and then the very tight right-hander of the hairpin, throwing it round here, squirting down the hill towards Barn. There used to be a shed there. People went into it in the old days, not anymore. Round they go, up the gearbox, onto the straight, and that's a lap of Cadwell. Fun, isn't it? The midpoint of the season seems like a really good time to catch up with two of the key figures behind the scenes in this year's championship. 11 times world champion Steve Webster MBE, and our promoter, my co-commentator as it happens, Roger Body. I grabbed a few words with them. Roger, at the start of the season, we sat in a similar sort of environment talking about the year ahead. You know, it all lay ahead of us, 8 rounds. Here we are halfway through. Are you pleased the way things have turned out so far?
Yeah, I think it's probably better than we anticipated, really. It's been good racing, and you know, we've had good coverage, TV coverage, which is where we wanted to be, and yeah, I think it's gone really well.
Steve, you've been there through, as I said before, the top of the sport when it was really at its pinnacle. We're now coming out of what's been recession, moving in the right direction, I'd agree, yeah?
Yeah, I think when you look at the sport, like I say, over the last 10 years, it had taken quite a considerable dive, really, when it comes to like the amount of publicity it was getting, the amount of press, and also the TV coverage, and also the classes at racing. Really, a lot of the lads weren't coming to compete at the events, whereas now you've got the race and the championship with the best in the world, really.
A good result was getting us with BSB. We've had 2 rounds with BSB so far, 2 more to come. What impact do you think that's had?
I think obviously when you get in with a championship that's got the credibility of BSB, and to be part of that package, it's a good thing. It's got to be a good thing because it shows that the class has progressed in a way that it's the image has gone forwards, the actual overall racing, the package has gone forward, and now we're actually wanted with Roger's help back in the series and believing in it. It's a win-win situation. So hopefully, over all the years I've been racing, I think this is the biggest change I've seen, let's say, in a forward way. This is a really big jump in the right direction.
You know, we know several people in the paddock that have gained sponsorship really because of the TV coverage and you know the extra higher profile that we seem to be achieving. And you know, we are now talking to sponsors that we would never have had an opportunity to speak to 2 years ago, and that, you know, is what we set out to do originally, was to lift the profile so that we could attract more sponsors, and then from the more sponsors we get better TV, from better TV, we're not far off of that. It'll never be MotoGP, but there are lots of niche sports now, and sidecar racing fills that sort of requirement of an exciting, colourful sport, you know, and now we've got good racing out there as well. Lots of youngsters nibbling at Timmy and the Birchalls. It's good. It's probably better than we ever anticipated.
Well, like I said, here we are halfway through the season. One final question for you. Have you learned any lessons so far in 2011 you're going to bring to 2012?
Yeah, not to spend so much money probably. That would be a good lesson. But no, it's. I think we learn a lot. The riders have as well. The riders have learned an awful lot about presentation. You know, there's teams here have now set themselves up professionally. They're all, you know, dressed professionally. They're acting professionally, and obviously sponsors see that. You know, and you know, in 2 years we've come a long, long way. So it's good. It's good.
I tell you, I can't wait now to get stuck into this Cadwell round, and then what lays afterwards. So we're going to end up in Ireland with a big points and money bonanza.
Yeah, I think with having the last round double points and double money, it's obviously everything. It could keep going right the way up to the last round. Then, even though we've got like a 90 odd point leader at the moment, if it's kept at that, then it could all change on the last round, and I think that in itself has also brought a bit of excitement more to the championship, because it's not all over, or it's not, mathematically not all over until the end. So that's got to help.
Are we going to have a fat lady singing, do you think?
Timmy only needs to drop one race and everybody's back with him, and he's, I think, the only person that hasn't dropped a race. Most of the other riders have dropped races. Timmy hasn't had a DNF, and hopefully for Timmy he won't, but there's always that opportunity.
Well, thanks, fellas. It's going to be really exciting. I can't wait for the rest of the season. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think we're all really looking forward. This weekend's going to be great as well. It's going to be good. It's going to be hard racing here this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, it'd be good. And by the way, I don't know any fat ladies. They're all just pleasantly plump.
Yeah, the ones you own are.
Qualifying is all done and dusted. That resulted in Tim Reeves and Greg Clues claiming pole position from the Birchells in second place. This, however, is a short race. There are points available, but it will determine the grid for tomorrow's two main races. And that was the important thing, of course. Qualifying put them where they are now, but it could easily lose it. If something went wrong, Tim Reeves might not be in pole position for the main races on our programme. But they all got away safely. Everybody watched from the pit wall as they shot up and around the first time. It was Birchells who took the initiative. Tim Reeves chasing them down with Greg Clues holding the third wheel. The antics of Tom Birchall was something to behold as they went down into Barn and away to complete this lap. But Tim Reeves was relentless. He did not want to relinquish that pole position. Second place, his pit board said, that's like a red rag to a bull. Mark Edwards and Shelley Smithers, their Kawasaki completed the race mechanically, except for the fact that poor Shelley was covered in oil and was slip-sliding all over the platform. But at least they've got the bike going. That's great stuff. Reeves rocketed past the Birchells. They simply had no answer for the flying Tim Reeves and Greg Clues. Meanwhile, chasing them down in third, Scott Laurie and James Neve on an immaculately prepared and painted bike. The battle for fourth and fifth between Andy Peach and Ben Bygrave was the highlight of the race. The youngsters doing a terrific job heading for the best result of their 2011 season. Craig Chaplow, Patrick Farrants as well have finally got their act together. Barry James and Jamie Wynn, a retirement. It was bad news, but Ben Bygrave got his best result with fifth and they were thrilled. Well, all the post-race tension, a great fifth place for Ben Bygrave and Callum Lawson. You really were at it. I'm tripping over my words. It was so exciting. You got stuck in, didn't you?
Yeah, it was mega, and I didn't want it to end, to be fair. I see Peachy getting closer and closer as well, so over the moon with that, yeah.
I can see you trembling, and you had that battle with Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence. I mean, to get by them the way you did, that's no mean feat, is it?
Yeah, he's an awesome rider, and he's been at it a long time. He's got a good racecraft, and we put up a good fight, and we got in front of him, and Ben rid awesome all race. He was smooth, not one problem, just rid well. And I'd just like to thank John Lawson, and Ben would like to thank you.
Yeah, it's my uncle Roy English and Rotex.
Craig Chaplow, Patrick Farrants, I described that as a short sprint race to redefine the grid for the main races, but you really treated that as the main race, and a brilliant result, if I may say so, 7th?
Yeah, fantastic. We're absolutely delighted. Got some sponsors here this weekend from Able and PME, and great to be able to get some finishes in fact, for this for the really tough start to the season, and it's fantastic to get a finish in this one.
Patrick, you're a world-class passenger, you're a World Championship passenger. It must be good now to finish a race and get a result.
Yeah, it is good. It's been a long, hard season. We've had quite a bit of trouble with the bike and other things, but no, it's real good. Craig's driving really well. It's brilliant. I couldn't ask for more. I mean, 7th place, 7th on the grid for tomorrow's race. Qualified nice. Craig's driving brilliant. Bike's handling mega. So, yeah, it's all to go for tomorrow now.
No real changes at the very sharp end, but a good row 3 for Ben Bygrave and Callum Lawson alongside the veterans, Roger and Rick. A new passenger for Phil Bell, Tony Belsey. Not new, he's ridden with him over many years, on and off. Chaplow and Farrants line up alongside them. Looking from row 6. Now, Bleakley is not a name we know. He's in here as a wild card rider from the National Championship, alongside John Clark and Stuart Graham. Ian Drown and Anderson there on row 7. Good for them. Ben Holland way down the order, and the Sloanes at the back. Well, with qualifying and that short sprint race out of the way, that's been a great precursor towards the two main races. We're going to take a short break now, so join us again in part 2 when we get the first big race underway here at Cadwell.